feel like I'm giving you all my secrets today because I often get asked about SEO and how you get certain keywords to work with your content. And I've realized I've shown you like step by step how this works, but I haven't really gone on like a deep dive on the 3 specific tools that I use. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's get right to it. Hey y'all, Crystal here today, and we are focusing on the 3 keyword tools that I use for my SEO, which is search engine optimization. And we are going to talk about what I use for my podcast, my YouTube channel, and my blog posts, because these are really the 3 forms of content that we've been honing in on here as content creators on this channel. And I'm just going to dive right in because we have a lot to cover. So number 1, keywords everywhere. This is a keyword planner that I have used for, many years now. I've been using it, it was free whenever I first started using it. That's how long I've been using this tool. And it's just something that is so incredible because it works on Google. It works on YouTube. It also works on Amazon and a few other search places where you're going to look for content. And the way that I use this is really, there's a Chrome plugin that I'll use. And whenever I want to know how a specific keyword ranks, then I will type it into Google, and there's this little bar that pops up on the side that will give me more detailed information on how often people are searching for this keyword or term. And it also gives some other suggested terms that people search for. So if I were to type into Google how to start a podcast, maybe it would give me start a podcast, how to start a podcast, how to create a podcast, and all the other different information that pops up whenever I type this keyword or phrase into Google. So this is really where I start when it comes to keyword research. I actually do this for my YouTube videos before I finish titling them. Now, I'm doing a video very soon that's going to show you exactly behind the scenes of the process I take to find the keywords, find the long tail keywords, and really come up with titles for my content. But today, I just wanted to give you a broader sense of how I use these tools so you can start playing with them and testing them out to see how they're going to work with your content. But keywords everywhere is definitely one of those that I use most often because I want to make sure that my keywords for the titles of my podcast episodes, the titles of my YouTube videos, are all something that people are already looking for. That is what is most important, because if I'm just creating content based on what I want, then how will the people that are already looking for this information, because y'all are out there, content creators are out there already looking for this information. I just have to title it into a way that they can find it when they start looking for it. So that is tool number 1, keywords everywhere. And then SEO tool number 2 that we need to talk about today is TubeBuddy. Now, this is something for those of you that want to get your YouTube channels off the ground. I cannot recommend enough using a tool like TubeBuddy because it just makes everything so much easier. It gives me all the checklists that I need to do to make sure each of my videos is optimized for the highest level performance that I can get it to be. Now, this is something that helps me with my tags. It reminds me to put an end screen on my video and put those beautiful info cards that you see on the suggested videos that I have, or maybe a link to a resource that I want you to check out, as well as all of the tags. Now, this is super, super important because if you are spending time to really hone in and research SEO keywords and looking up what people are already searching for your content, then you want to make sure to have the proper tags for each of your videos. Now, I have a video coming up in the future on how I pick and choose the different tags for my YouTube videos, but I really just want to hone in on the fact that if you aren't sure how to use a tool like this for keywords and planning, you just have to get in there and play with it for a second. I mean, and it's just really, it's kind of my rule of thumb when I create any type of content. Whenever I get a new tool, I like to see, is this really user-friendly? Is it something that I can use and figure out pretty easily? And TubeBuddy was definitely one of those where I could just go to the Keyword Explorer, type in what I'm trying to rank for, and if it's something that there's way too much competition, then I just get creative and say, okay, if my audience were to ask me a question about this, which, hint, that's where all of my content comes from. It's questions that you ask me on a regular basis from the podcast, from YouTube, from in our Facebook community. That's where all of my content ideas come from. It's from my audience. I will type that into the Keyword Explorer and say, okay, this one I probably can't rank for. There's way too much competition, but can I get more specific? Can I take it just a step above and beyond to really hone in on something that isn't out there? And a great example of this is solo podcast. Now, whenever I first started using TubeBuddy, podcasting was already really big on the scene. Like there was a lot of competition on YouTube for how to start a podcast, how to launch a podcast. And so I was like, you know what? There's no one talking about solo podcast. Every time I would type that into the Keyword Explorer, into TubeBuddy, I was like, man, like I can really rank for this. And so that's what I did. And now anytime you type in solo podcast, you will see a few of my videos pop up. And that is all through the power of being strategic with my keywords and my SEO tools. So the third one that I want to talk about now when it comes to SEO and keyword planning is Yoast SEO Plugin for my WordPress website. Now I know not everybody will have a WordPress website. You may have other website builders that you are using, but when people ask me, I gotta tell them this is what I use. This is the tried and true SEO tool that I've been using for a few years now. And what I love about Yoast is the simplicity of how it works. So if you watch this video right here, I walk you through exactly how I create show notes for my podcast. And what I did is I literally go through step by step what I do on my WordPress site towards the end of the video. And I'll actually put the marker up here of when that starts of this video. And I actually go through when I title any of the posts that are going to go on my website. I want to make sure that they are SEO friendly. And I go through at the very bottom of whenever I'm almost ready to publish my show notes, I make sure everything is optimized and I get that little green smiley face on the Yoast plugin, and that tells me that we are good to go. So it's very quite simple. So if you want to know more about how I use the Yoast SEO plugin on my WordPress site, make sure you go watch that video. But that's all I have for you today. So make sure you go to the description if you want to learn more about Keywords Everywhere, TubeBuddy, and the Yoast SEO plugin for my WordPress website. I'm going to have links to everything in the show notes. But I want to know, what are your specific questions about SEO, search engine optimization, keyword planning, ranking on Google, or anything else that can get you organic traffic? Because I want to know. So put those questions in the comments and I will be happy to answer them and maybe even feature your question in a future video. But that's all I have for you today. So make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video if you found it helpful. Subscribe below. That way you don't miss our future videos all about content creation and running your online business. Make sure you check out these other videos right here, all about content creation and running your online business. And as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere.